So first, thank you everyone for joining us. This is our, I think, third or fourth guest speaker in the series. And what this is, Georgia Wildlife Federation was given a grant by NSSF. So we are very thankful for that grant, and it is allowing us to do a career series for individuals that are interested in going into wildlife management, conservation, or in the firearm industry. So today's guest speaker, I am very happy to introduce Sergeant William Freeman. He works for the Alabama Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, and he has been doing fantastic work. I absolutely love working with you, and I can't wait to hear what you are going to talk about, but he's going to tell you about his background and then about careers that are out there and how to get into them. So I'm going to go ahead and would you like to introduce yourself first, and then I'll share the screen?
Okay, so I'm Sergeant Freeman with the Alabama Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. I'm real excited to get to talk with you guys today about your journey into these careers. And one important thing that I want you to know is that there is no one way to achieve your goals as far as your career. And when I go through my presentation, I think you'll see that there's a traditional route that you can follow, and then there's a route that's just going to take you to where you want to go by taking opportunities and making the best of them. So if you're ready, Coral, I am.
I am ready. And then just let me know when you're ready for me to move on to the slides, okay?
Okay. Okay. So we just did a little brief introduction and just move on to the next slide, Coral. Okay. So the journey. And you guys are lucky because not many people get to see these pictures. But I think to bring it home and to make it real, I felt it was appropriate to show some of my younger pictures. So I was born in 1961, and I was born into a military family. Um, and upon coming into this world, my dad was stationed. I was born at Fort Benning at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and then immediately moved to Okinawa, just off the coast of Japan. And it was there that I went to kindergarten. Um, and I got my little certificate there where I actually graduated kindergarten and stayed in Okinawa for roughly 5 or 6 years. After leaving Okinawa, we went to Fort Benning, Georgia, at Columbus. And when I was a youngster growing up there were pine trees everywhere. We lived on post, and I actually spent a lot of time with a little pet beagle that I had, running through the woods, playing like I was a woodsman, and hunting and throwing sticks and stuff. And I think that's basically where my love of the outdoors came from. Was the time that I got to spend with my dog, just playing in the backyard in the pine trees. So we lived there at Benning for quite a little spell, and then we left again and went to Bamberg, Germany. Um, Went to Bamberg, Germany. I was in junior high school. Um, Played football, had a normal childhood, basketball, did everything that normal kids do, but didn't get a chance to spend a lot of time in the outdoors while living there in Germany, but got a chance to see a lot of Europe. From Germany, we turned around and moved back to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, where I started high school. Go ahead and change your slide, Cor. It was here that I finished up my junior high school year and then immediately started high school in Lawton, Oklahoma. Um, and as you can tell, kind of by two of the pictures, there's not a lot there in Lawton, Oklahoma at Fort Sill. So once again, I was back outside learning different things. I went to high school there. My sophomore year of high school, I had another touch with the outdoors, and I went to work my sophomore year with the Youth Conservation Corps, put out by the National Parks, by the National Park Service. And it was then that the seed was really planted. I worked at the Wichita Mountains Wildlife Refuge with the park rangers that whole summer, and we worked on making trails, herding buffalo and longhorns, and catching deer, and was a great experience at 15 years old to be able to do that. So I went on through high school and graduated my high school. In my senior year of high school, I went to basic training at Fort Sill. Being from a military family, it's kind of just a given that you're going to go in the military when you get out. So I went to basic training in AIT, my individualized training, and began my college. And I was in the Oklahoma National Guard at that time. So I went to college on an ROTC scholarship. Um, Graduated college in 1984 and was commissioned in the Oklahoma Army National Guard, and also received my degree, which was in agriculture education, um, to get out and be an ag teacher. Um, During that time, right after that, um, I was deployed to Operation Desert Shield and Operation Desert Storm. Stayed roughly 2 years in country in the Middle East, and then came back home. After coming home, I always had a passion for horses. And as I was in high school, we had horses, so I started training horses. And I trained horses for 10, 12 years. And that's kind of what got me to Alabama. I left Texas with horses, coming to work in Florida, training horses for customers. And eventually, that's what got me to Alabama, was the horse business. Um, Go ahead. Cool. So I moved to Alabama in roughly 2005. Still doing a lot with horses, but at this time I was introduced to hunting by some of my customers, which really just was great for me, and it was something that I always wanted to do, but never thought I'd get the chance to do. Um, because, like, growing up, my father was gone a lot. He was deployed. He was in Vietnam, so we never really got a chance to get that much into hunting. We did fish quite a bit, but just not hunting. So the horse business got me here, got me with people who took time, who got me out and taught me to hunt. Um, in 2009, I was working with the Alabama Department of Corrections. I was a supervisor there. And I met a guy that worked there. And he says, Freeman, he says, man, you'd make a good game warden. All you want to do is be in the woods and hunt. And I said, yeah, right. He says, no, he says, you should go take the test. So I went and took the test a few years later. And right after I took the test, I got a call and interviewed for the position with the Department of Conservation. And they hired me pretty right off the bat. So worked out really good. When I first got hired with the Department of Conservation, I was a game warden in Bullitt County, Alabama, very, very rural. It's where I live. And I worked doing that job about 6 or 7 years. But at that time, I was started doing outreach. And they said, Freeman, how would you like to go into the schools and do outreach, with your background? I said, sure. So I started doing outreach and talking to people and taking them hunting and taking them fishing. And it's just grown and grown. I've started doing work at different universities at Tuskegee and Alabama A&M. And the programs just grew because of the interest. And so now today, I am the Collegiate Conservation Outreach Coordinator. It's grown that much to where they've made a separate position so that I can engage with people and take them to the woods and hunt for the first time, or fish for the first time, or camp, just anything outdoors. So I'm real fortunate and I'm blessed. And I really want you guys to have the same opportunities that I did. But the point that I want to make is, when I was growing up, I never dreamed that I'd be doing this. My life just kind of took me this direction. And every time I got an opportunity, I seized on that opportunity. Um, I ask a lot of questions. So it doesn't matter where you come from. You saw me back there with a big afro. I wasn't studying the woods, but here I am. And I think it's where I'm supposed to be. So whatever your dreams are, I want you to follow them. Okay. So we're going to start out talking about the Alabama Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, but this is going to mirror a lot of the other state agencies that are there. We all basically um, have the same purpose and the same mission. We just go about things a little bit differently. So, here in Alabama, our agency is responsible for managing and protecting many of Alabama's natural resources, including our state parks. That's where I am right now, at a state park, our fish and wildlife, our state lands, and our marine resources. Um, that says a lot. There's all the logos, but all of these different divisions are under the Department of Conservation. I know a lot of people think Department of Conservation, they think about biologists or they think about game wardens, and that's pretty much all they think of. But it is so broad, um, that people don't realize all the other jobs and the opportunities that we do have. I talked with our state personnel day before yesterday, and I said, how many jobs are just in the conservation field alone in the state of Alabama? And they did some figuring and sent it back to me. There's over 1,115 different job classifications in the Department of Conservation in Alabama. Now, these job classifications, they run from anywhere from being a plumber to being a mechanic, to being operating a store, operating a motel or a lodge, to housekeeping, to finance, to administration. Any job that you could think of, that job is here in the Department of Conservation, that wears one of these four logos and works with the same benefits that I do in law enforcement. So I thought that was pretty awesome. And that's going to become important later on when we talk about look at different pathways to get into these jobs. So you can go ahead and click it. So to begin with, I wanted you to know a little bit about our agency, like we just talked, and about how we're funded. Um, all of these conservation state agencies are funded um, part the same way, with WISFR funds, funds from the Wildlife and Sports Fish Restoration Act. Um, and that WISFR money, in short, it's split out kind of in two different acts. We've got the Pittman Robertson Act, 1937, and the Dingell Johnson Act of 1950. So in 1937, there were two congressmen, Mr. Pittman and Mr. Robertson. They realized that there needed to be a way of funding our conservation departments because they were noticing a decline in certain wildlife species. So they created this act to help. And in 1950, two congressmen, Mr. Dingell and Johnson, they realized the same thing about our fisheries. So they're seeing a decline and they're seeing the need for there to be restoration, habitat management, and a way to fund agencies to help conserve, enhance, and protect our wildlife, hence the Pittman Robertson Act and the Dingell Johnson Act. Now, how these acts work is I'll go over Pittman Robertson. Um, Firearms manufacturers, which were the NSSF, is part of this presentation. They're sponsoring with Georgia Wildlife Federation. Um, there's an 11% excise tax It was a pre-existing tax that was placed on firearms, ammunition, and archery equipment. And this 11% tax was paid by the manufacturers of these sporting goods or firearms and archery equipment to the federal government. And it all goes in a big pool. And basically, the way that the states can access that money in the pool is by the sale of hunting or fishing licenses for Dingle Johnson. So when a license is sold, that license is matched $3 to one out of um, the Pittman Robertson Act or the Dingle Johnson Act. The Dingle Johnson Act primarily applies to fishing and fishing equipment. So that's how our agencies are funded. So it's unique for me because being law enforcement, we're having to police the very same people that pay our bills. So it's very unique in that aspect. But that's pretty much the way that most of our agencies are funded. Now there are some other federal monies and grants that come into play, but basically the sale of hunting and fishing licenses it's greatly misunderstood. A lot of people think that they're tax dollars that they pay every year fund these departments, and that's not necessarily always the truth or the meat of the matter. Okay, cool. So I want to talk about our Marine Resources Division. Our Marine Resources Division is located in Mobile and Baldwin counties here in Alabama, and they're down on the coast. And they manage that natural resource or marine resources through assessment, monitoring, and applied research, and of course, enforcement. Um, that particular division has a lot of biologists in it um, and enforcement personnel. Um, the enforcement portion of those personnel, they patrol the waterways and do checks. They do some homeland security work every now and again, boarding vessels. They conduct search and rescue missions, and they enforce boating and safety laws. Now, the biologists are primarily tasked with monitoring and managing our fisheries, our commercial and our recreational fisheries there on the coast. So those guys spend a lot of time, in boats, pretty much every day in a boat, going out and checking stuff. But a very unique place to work. The Gulf is beautiful. They have a nice facility there, and I encourage you, if you want to go that route, to check out our Marine Resources Division. Okay, cool. Our State Lands Division, and this is one division that I do quite a bit of work with. They have a wide range of duties. They're land managers. Um, that property they use for revenue generation. Um, it's used for conservation, restoration, and education purposes in a bunch of recreational programs. So the state lands, and there's a picture there with a bunch of students. This was a group of students that I took from Tuskegee and Montevallo universities. We're using it as a place. They're going to go on their first mentor duck hunt there next week. And so we were there in the summer. We were doing some controlled burning. We brushed in all our duck blinds. And these are the type of activities that we do with our state lands. Our state lands also maintains several facilities here in Alabama. They maintain the Weeks Bay National Estuary, Five Rivers Delta Resource Center, the Whaley Land and Conservation Center, and this is called the Barnett F. Lawley track that we're on right here today. Um, the jobs that are available out there are very, very wide. A lot of land managers, land planners, biologists, foresters, and a big one is a GIS specialist. And they also have their very own enforcement component, which is a little bit unique because all of their enforcement people are actually biologists or foresters. They're kind of a dual role employee. So pretty neat place to go. If you ever watch TV and you see the dogs, duck dogs, they do trainings out there almost every weekend in the winter. They're out there doing field trials. So a very unique place to visit. Okay. Um, our state parks division. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm at a state park today. We have over 21 state parks in the state of Alabama, encompassing over 48,000 acres of land and water. So the unique thing in Alabama is that with our state parks, um, Gulf State Park is on the ocean, and you can get north of here up into Cheehaw. It goes all the way to the foothills of the Appalachians. So we have state parks in different regions of the state, so you can see any kind of a landscape that you want to. And there's a lot of jobs associated with our state parks, along with our enforcement. We also have administrative jobs, hospitality jobs, maintenance jobs, and outdoor recreation jobs. And that includes everything from people working in the lodges, whether it be in the restaurant or at the bar or in housekeeping or at the golf courses or at the marinas. Um, any kind of a job that you want, State Parks has got something for you, along with our biologists and naturalist jobs that you can get there. We have archaeology people, archaeologists that look at artifacts that work at these parks as petting zoos here. And so just a wide range of jobs that you can get. Like I say, most of their in Alabama, they're very much a great draw for the tourism department. A lot of really beautiful places, um, as well as a lot of recreational opportunities such as archery, kayaking, and boating. So if you kind of like archery, and we're building these archery parks at our state parks, and you're into the shooting sports, I think in the future you're going to see a lot of opportunity come available. Okay. Wildlife and Freshwater Fisheries Division. This is the division that I work for, and it's very diverse in the jobs. Um, we do. We talked about the Pittman Robertson and hunting, but what a lot of people don't understand is those same dollars go to protect endangered species and to do a lot of research. Um, everything from golden eagles there on the right with Mercedes Holden to gopher turtles on the left with Carrie. And while we're here and we're on this slide, I want to mention that Carrie, and we're talking about pathways. Carrie started out as a game warden, and now she's assistant chief of wildlife. So that's what I mean about different pathways in, and we'll talk about that more in a little bit. We do a lot with our fisheries, our inland fisheries, with our striped bass or hybrid bass. We've got enforcement that are out checking hunting and fishing and checking compliance. So just a wide array of opportunities, on that side of the board also. While we're here, we're talking about different jobs in classifications, but I don't want to leave out that our biologist jobs, those are all degree positions. So to be a biologist, you would need to have your degree, or you would have to have an equivalent. So we have also what they call a biologist aide. Um, and those aren't necessarily degree jobs, but those are jobs that you can get if when you get out of school, if there's no biologist jobs open, you can take an aide job and get in the system. And then when those other jobs come open, you can move up. Um, Another great success story, we had a chief that just retired before the chief that we have now in enforcement. And he started out as a biologist aide on a management area in South Alabama and retired the chief of the wildlife division. So he took advantage of what he could, And then as things came open, he moved up. So I want to stress that because a lot of us get our sights set on things that we want and we don't want to do anything else. Well, that could leave us hungry for a little while. So I encourage you to look at different ways to get into these positions. You may have to take a job that isn't exactly what you want, but with these communities, and the conservation community is kind of a very close, tight knit community. Once you're in and you meet people, it makes it easier for you to move forward. So I just didn't want to forget that. Also, with wildlife and freshwater fisheries, and along with all the other divisions, if you like marketing and communications, um, right now and moving forward, that's going to be a field that's growing leaps and bounds. Um, I wish that I knew more about it um, and could offer more in that arena, but people, students that are majoring in human dimensions. That's a big thing right now with conservation departments because we're diversifying, and we want to reach out and we want to embrace um, a segment of the population that really doesn't understand us or know who we are, but we want this to be for everybody. So marketing's, communications, like I said, GIS, human dimensions, those are all um, great careers in they're going to be great careers in conservation moving forward. Okay, cool. So the future. So what can we do to ensure that this conservation moves on in the future? And what can you do as a student or for somebody looking to get into these fields do to build your future? Well, the number one thing I can think of is volunteering. Um, Volunteer. Look at your state's website. In Alabama, it's outdooralabama.com. Look on Georgia's website. Look at Georgia Wildlife Federation website. There's a lot of volunteer opportunities that you can take that will help you in your journey to get to where you want to be. Number one, when you volunteer, it gives that agency or that organization a chance to look at you. And it also gives you a chance to look at that organization and see if that's somebody that you want to go to work for. Um, I hate to say it, but sometimes maybe you thought, well, that's not quite what I thought it was. And you need to be able to do that early on so that you can make adjustments. So volunteering is very, very critical. Professional development. Um, we offer in Alabama, we offer a lot of trainings, a lot of mentorship opportunities, um, whether it be with hunting or with shooting sports. We have full of firearms 101 classes so that you can learn to safely use a firearm. We have learn to hunt classes. Um, so I encourage you to take some of those classes and get some mentoring because that again, that's going to help you. And here in Alabama, one of my students that rode with me a couple of times while she was in college and took advantage of some of these opportunities, we just hired her in November as an assistant R3 coordinator. And when she was in college, she didn't know that's what she was going to do. I didn't know that's what she was going to do, but here she is. So um, I'm seeing the fruits of these programs pay off. So volunteer, get professional development, and network. Join different organizations, go to conferences, meet people. Like I said, this is a very small, close knit community, and everybody knows everybody. So meet people, network, see what they have to offer, and seek professional mentorship. Um, a lot of these agencies would love to mentor you or take time with you to answer your questions and take you and show you what they do. But the key is you've got to step up and go do those things. Um, and so I just think those few things are very, very important for you in your future. I've seen a lot of students majoring in different things in college, and then change their majors to come work in these different jobs. Um, I also want you to look at what we call NGOs, or non-governmental organizations, and they are both local and national. A local NGO would be the Georgia Wildlife Federation, um, that Core works for. It would be the Alabama Wildlife Federation. Um, those are local to that state. They have programs. They probably have internships. Um, Take advantage. Go look at those places. On a national level, you've got the NSSF, the National Shooting Sports Foundation. You've got the Council to Advance the Hunting and Shooting Sports, the National Wild Turkey Federation, Ducks Unlimited, Delta Waterfowl. Um, there's a lot of great NGOs, and I know that they're looking for help because I get all the emails. Um, and so I'm helping to place students in some of those arenas. And we've had some success. I've got several students coming from different universities that are graduating and they're going to work for some of those NGOs. Well, those NGOs' mission is the same as the state. So they work very closely with the states. So you can start with one organization and switch over, and vice versa. So it gives you a lot more job opportunities. So I stress to you, get involved because they want to help you, and it's going to ensure the future of what we do. So um, I really want you to get out there and get involved. But oh, okay, Coral, should be some more slides. So how to apply for this for Alabama? You can apply at our personnel, state personnel website. And on that website, um, it's going to, you can pull it up. It'll go to current listings. You can punch on that. Current career opportunities. Exactly. And punch on that and go to job announcements. And I tell you what's so cool. What is so cool is that I was talking about marketing. For me to be able to do this and Coral to be such on the ball that she can go on there and do all this is the future of conservation. But you can go on here in all the jobs. You can type in a keyword like conservation, and it will bring up some of the jobs in cotton. Park naturalist, parks facility. There it's starting right there. Conservation officer trainee. Every job is there, and you can apply right online. Now, some of our biologist positions, they will require a resume. Some of our jobs are testing. For enforcement, you take a test, you fill out the application, you take a test, and you proceed with your banding within that test. And that's how you get hired. And for enforcement, high school diploma or GED is all you need in Alabama. But for our biologist jobs and other jobs, they require a resume. So it's a little bit of a different route that you would take with our personnel department. So I encourage you, if you're interested, go on there, type in conservation, and all kinds of things are going to pop up. Different jobs that you've never thought of are going to pop up. So lots of opportunity out there. And everything's listed with the job description, pay, everything's right there. Thank you, Coral. Got one more slide. So here's my contact information. You can feel free to call me at any time, and I will point you in the right direction and get you in front of the people that you need to get in front of. Um, um, does anybody have any questions about anything? Kayla, I know you have a question.
It's Kyla, Sergeant Freeman.
Kyla, excuse me. That's correct.
But no, sir, I don't have any questions. But thank you so much. This is a very nice. Yes, this is all very, very nice. Thank you. I enjoyed it.
I'll see you next week.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so I definitely want to thank you for coming on here and agreeing to be a guest speaker. And we'll open it up to anybody with questions that they have. I'm going to leave this screen up in case anybody wants to take down his contact information, but you're able to ask him questions